Mangalacharanam. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sargana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpata Rubhyascha Kapa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Nangai Tegri Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinitarya. Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to the class. So we are studying 10th chapter. So first 7 verses were discussed where Krishna's position, Lord Krishna's position as the origin of everything. That was the how Lord is the origin of everything that in existence. So the next section is very important. It's called Chatur Shloki. And these 4 slokas, 10.8, 9, 10, 11. It is mentioned that these 4 slokas are the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita. Seed verses means they are they contain the message of entire Bhagavad Gita. So in a way, this is the most important class in the Bhagavad Gita. You can say that way. Because the ideas shared here in these 4 verses is the summary of entire Bhagavad Gita. There is no other verses which carry as much important message as these 4 verses. So let us carefully read through that. So after hearing this, these 4 slokas from Krishna, Arjuna accepts and requests Krishna to show his opulences. So that will continue in the 11th chapter. This section is called Chatur Shloki. So we studied this. I will not go again. So this is the overall translation of the 4 verses. Lord speaks the Chatur Shloka. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotion service and worship me with all their hearts. First, he is telling his position, which is the source of all material as well as spiritual worlds. Everything comes from me. The wise who perfectly know this, what do? They engage in my devotion service and worship me with all their hearts. Understanding Krishna is the origin and source of everything. Everybody now understand, those who understand this fact, those who accept this fact, what do? Because they know the source of everything. They know everything that happens in their life is somehow connected to this source. Right? So in every aspect, they depend on God. They always worship and remember Lord. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss enlivening one another and conversing about me. The devotees always talk about Krishna with each other. They want to discuss more about Krishna. And in that way, they derive what happens when they do that? There is great satisfaction and bliss. In the olden days in India, every evening there used to be a Bhagavad Katha in every village. People used to gather, they sit together and they hear Bhagavatam or Ramayanam and go to sleep. That is the right way of ending the day. Why? What happens when you hear Bhagavatam? All your anxieties, tensions, all your misgivings, struggles of life, everything comes to peaceful end. You don't get bothered by it. This is the last verse. To those who constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Because Lord is within the heart. He's also there as Paramatma in the heart of everybody. So he gives the understanding by which somehow those people realize what is my exact path to Krishna. Those who engage constantly in serving me with love. This is the word is key. You have to have perform loving service to Krishna. When you do that, Lord himself gives that understanding by which you can come to him. And also he promises to show them special mercy. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Lord himself will destroy any ignorance that is within our heart, whether it is lust, anger, greed, envy, all those are our darkness. Lord would enlighten. And what do we need to do? We have to constantly engage in his service with love. That is the requirement. Let's read the verse. You can all unmute yourself and read after me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo
Aham sarvasya prabhavo
mattah sarvam pravartate
mattah sarvam pravartate
iti matva bhajante maam
iti matva bhajante mam
bhava samanvitah
buddha bhava samavata.
aham sarvasya prabhavo
Aham sarvasya prabhavo
mattah sarvam pravartate
mattah sarvam pravartate
iti matva bhajante maam
iti matva bhajante mam
Buddha bhava samanvitah
buddha bhava samavita.
aham sarvasya prabhavo. Aham means me, I. Sarvasya, of all, prabhava, the source of generation. I am the source of generation of everything. Mattah sarvam pravartate means from me comes everything. Mattah sarvam pravartate. Everything. Sarvam means everything. Everything comes from me. I am the source of everything and everything comes from me. It's the inverse of the same statement. Iti matva bhajante ma. Iti matva means those who know. Iti matva means those knowing this. Bhajante mam. Mam means me, again Krishna. Bhajante means, bhajan means bhakti, performing bhakti. Bhajante mam means perform bhakti. To whom? To Krishna. Buddha bhava samanvita. Buddha means learned. Bhava samanvita, with great attention. The learned will basically absorb in devotion service, knowing Krishna to be the source of everything, and knowing that everything comes from Krishna. That is the overall meaning of this verse. Please read the translation, anyone?
Okay, Prabhuji. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts.
So one who understands Krishna is the origin of everything, naturally, he knows that everything Everything he depends on to live in this world is all coming from the air, water, food, parents, or everything is coming from Krishna. Naturally, one will become naturally engaged in the devotion service of Lord. It's not a big challenge because he understands this fact. So you can see from this, Krishna is the origin of all material and spiritual goods. So how can one understand this truth about Krishna as the origin of all? How can we know? Like I can say Krishna, you can say Krishna is the source. I can say somebody else is the source. How do we know, ascertain that this is actually the source? Right? The way to ascertain such truths, which we cannot understand by our own minds, is by hearing from scriptures and bona fide authorities. Only by hearing. So now we accept because it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So similarly, there are also statements in other Vedas. Right? Here are the references for Krishna being the source of all demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Krishna in the beginning gave knowledge to Brahma. Narayana Upanishad. Supreme Person Narayana desired to create living entities, plus Brahma, 25 Patriarch Indra, 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, 12 Adityas born. Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. Maha Upanishad. In the beginning of creation, there was only one Supreme Personality, Narayana. Krishna says, so in this way, so many scriptural references are there that Krishna is the origin of everything. So we should avoid other foolish commentaries and Bhagavad Gita that do not accept such truth. Very clearly in this verse it is mentioned. Next verse. Very important verse. Machchitta madgata prana
Samagata prana
bodhayanta parasparam
Udayanta parasparam
Parasparam
katayantascha mam nityam
Kathayanta samam nityam
Nityam
shanti cha ramanti cha
Dushyanti charamti cha
Cha
chitta madgata prana
Machita Madhita Prana
bodhayantah parasparam
Udayanta Parasparam
katayantascha mam nityam
Kathayanta Samam Nityam
Dushanti cha ramanti cha.
Dushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha
Machchitta madgata prana. Machchitta means their minds fully engaged in me. Madgata prana, their lives devoted to me. Bodhayanta, preaching. Parasparam, among themselves. The devotees speak about Krishna among themselves. By minds fully engaged in me, lives devoted to me. Means everything they do is for Krishna. Lives devoted to Krishna. Bodhayanta parasparam, they preach among themselves about Krishna Katha. Katayantascha, talking also about me, Mam, Nityam, perpetually, always. So when they speak about Krishna, what happens? Tushyanticha Ramanticha. Tushyanticha means become pleased. Ramanticha means enjoy transcendental bliss. Just by talking about Krishna, they will become very, very pleased and very, very happy and blissful. So that is the translation. Please read translation.
The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me.
So first verse talked about how Krishna is the source of everything. Talked about so naturally when one understands that Krishna is the source of everything, all the material and spiritual world, they engage in the devotion service. And their life is fully dedicated to him. And not only that, they speak about Krishna with each other among the devotee community, satsangas, and they derive great satisfaction and happiness in discussing, in conversing about God. Yeah, you see here, the woman is cooking her food, and while cooking, she's cutting vegetables and heating vessel. She's always speaking Krishna, Krishna like that. Somebody is making some medicines. He's also always remembering Krishna. Somebody is cleaning the floor for Lord while chanting the. Somebody is sharing a Bhagavad Gita copy to somebody and stranger. Is also service to Krishna. Here, somebody is discussing a scripture like we are doing right now. They are also discussing about Krishna and become pleased. And somebody is taking care of a child while chanting Krishna's name. So in this way, you can see devotee who understands the truth about Krishna's position, they're always engaged in speaking about Krishna with each other. In that way, greatly derive bliss and happiness. In the preliminary stage, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. By performing the service, they become happy. After mature stage, in the mature stage, as they advance spiritually and they clean their heart, they're always situated in love of God and thus relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. So, as they advance spiritually, as their hearts get purified, they are situated in love of God, meaning they are always in transcendental happiness. Just by thinking about Krishna in their mind, they become very, very happy. Their heart, palpitates with pleasure. Eyes will, filled with tears of love for God. Just by speaking the word Krishna. You saw in the video I shared, I think a couple of weeks back, when somebody was chanting the name of Krishna, immediately their hearts were filled with that bliss and they're crying. What to speak of a person who is dedicating his life for Krishna? Their life will become transcendentally situated. So what do they discuss? They discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, where there is pastimes of the Lord as well as the stories of the great devotees who have perfected their life. Bhaktilata Bija. Bhaktilata Bija means the seed of devotion service. Lord Chaitanya compares transcendental devotion service to sowing of a seed in the heart of a living devotee, living entity. So bhakti also begins like a seed. Seed means it's not yet become a tree. Seed of a mango, for example, it's in very raw format. So similarly, when we study Bhagavad Gita, the first seed of devotion service is planted in our heart. The seed of bhakti is planted. It is a rare fortune to get the seed of bhakti. Very few people get the opportunity even to get the seed of bhakti. And then we have to water those seed. By what is the process of watering the seed of bhakti? By hearing and chanting. So every day we should chant, and we should definitely attend Bhagavad Gita class regularly. So this is the watering of the bhakti seed. The seed slowly fructifies and grows, penetrates the covering of material universe. The seed will grow into becoming a big, large tree, and it goes out of this material world, enters the spiritual world, and it reaches the Brahmajyoti and grows even more. And finally, it reaches the highest planet, Golok Vrindavan, and take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. So the tree becomes so big that finally it reaches the bhakti reaches the lotus feet of the Lord. The tree gradually bears fruits and flowers, and watering process goes on. Watering means the hearing and chanting still continues. Thus, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God, cannot live a moment without Lord. At this stage, devotee attains transcendental qualities in contact with the Lord. Yeah. So, this is how bhakti grows in the heart of a devotee. It is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. Next verse. So we understood that first, Lord is the source of everything. Those who understand, the intelligent, will engage in his worship. So next verse talked about how the devotee, knowing this fact, always engages in the loving service of the Lord, and they derive great satisfaction. So Lord is the source. Knowing this, devotees engage in his loving service, always enlightening each other. Right. So when this happens, this is the activity from the devotee side. Now, when this happens, what happens from the Krishna side? What does Krishna do? So that is given here. Next, let's read together. Tesham satata yuktanam
Satatayuktanam
bhajatam priti purvakam
Bhajatampurvakam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami buddhiyogam tam
Tamam.
yenam
tamam upayanti te.
Yenamam upayantate.
Tesham satata yuktanam
Yesam satatayuktanam
Satatayuktanam
bhajatam priti purvakam
bhagatam priti purvakam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
enamam upayanti te.
yenamam upayantate.
Tesham satata yuktanam, unto them, satata yuktanam, always engaged. So now, how Krishna will reciprocate with the devotion service performed by the devotee? That is mentioned in the 9th verse. The devotee always engages in conversing about each other, about Krishna with each other, enlightening one another through speaking about Krishna. Now, when devotees do that, what does Krishna do? Sesam satatayuktam, unto them who are always engaged in bhajata, in rendering devotion service. How? Priti purvakam, in loving ecstasy. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I give what? Buddhi yogam means real intelligence. Tam yenamam upayante. That intelligence that is given by Krishna to the devotee, what does it help with? It will help him to come back to him, to come back to Krishna. Yenamam upayantite means they can come back to Lord, knowing that knowledge, knowing that after having that intelligence. Please read, anybody?
To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me.
So this is the reciprocation from the Lord. It's not that devotion service is one way. It's only the devotee who does it, and there is nothing that happens from Krishna's side. Actually, in fact, it is mentioned, if you take one step, Krishna takes 10 steps towards you. That is how it works. So Lord reciprocates with his pure devotees by giving them the required knowledge. Intelligence. Intelligence means, what is intelligence? Anybody? From what we discussed before. What is intelligence?
Human form can inquire.
Inquire. Ability to inquire. Okay. Any other answers?
Krishna is source of everything.
Yeah, that is true. But what is intelligence as a faculty in the body? Yeah? So mind is like a storehouse of all the thoughts. How does intelligence help? Using the knowledge.
Decision making.
Yeah, that's correct. So intelligence helps make decisions. What is right, what is wrong. Our life is all about constantly making decisions every single day. Should I go to that? Should I go here? Should I go to India? Should I stay here? So in that way, our mind is full of making, life is all about making the choices. And what Krishna is saying is, and intelligence is a critical piece, right? Because your future depends on your current decisions. Right? For example, Arjuna has a question: should I fight or not fight? And now Krishna is giving the intelligence to him so that he can make the right call. Right? So, Lord, when one engages in the devotion service, what does Lord reciprocate with? He gives the required intelligence to make the right choices in life. So what is the intelligence? Intelligence is, how do, for example, you are in here and you want to go to a different place. You need a pathway to go there. Right? You need a plan or an executable plan to go there. So Krishna is saying what? I give them the required intelligence by which they can come to me. So that intelligence, the understanding that Krishna gives, how does it help him? How does it help the devotee to actually go back to Krishna? It's not for everybody, not for those who don't engage in devotion. It is only for those, because Krishna is reciprocal. He is not partial. He is not partial to devotees. He is reciprocal. If you ask, he will give. It's like anybody, right? You have to engage. If you engage, then Krishna understands, yes, you are looking for this. Yes, this is the path. I want material enjoyment. Yes, this is the path. Krishna will give you. As a loving father, he does not force us to do one way of things. He respects our choice, right? He doesn't force. And as per our choice, he basically gives us what we ask, right? So the real intelligence is making the right choice. If the choice, if a person decides to engage in devotion service, that is the first right thing he did. You have ample time in your life, free time. You can either be engaged in devotion service or you can enjoy the way you want with the material world, right, in the material world. But when you make the choice to engage in the devotion service, right, then Krishna reciprocates with your engagement by giving you the understanding by which you can come to him. So different types of yoga we already discussed. So how one can get introduced. So all the processes of yoga is basically to connect with Lord. Yeah. So how one can get introduced and know his goal. So how does one know about his goal of life? For example, how do you come to know about, my ultimate goal is to go back to God or whatever, right? We discussed. That is because we are associating with Srila Prabhupada's books, right? By association of devotees and hearing from a bona fide spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada. When you do that, Lord gives the intelligence in Bhakti Yoga ultimate goal of progress, Krishna, right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Buddhi Yoga means action in Krishna consciousness is a sign of highest intelligence. So Krishna helps externally, bona fide spiritual master. As a how does Krishna help us? Through a guru, right? So externally means you can see him and serve him. That's like a person who you can work with, right? So that is a bona fide spiritual master, a guru. A guru, bona fide spiritual master means a guru coming in a guru parampara. Then only is called bona fide. Not anybody who declares himself to be a guru or the Jagat Guru or Guru is designated as Guru by his Guru, right? And that Guru has to be designated by his Guru. So there should be an unbroken chain of teachers starting from Krishna. Then you can believe, hey, this parampara is perfect because the original teachings were given by Krishna to the next down level teacher. And that teacher gave to the next down level teacher. In that way, it is coming in an unbroken line of teachers. Then the message is preserved in its pristine purity, right? So that's why we should hear only those teachers who are who are coming in a Guru Parampara. Then he is called a bona fide spiritual master. And Krishna is also there internally in our heart, right? How? He is there as Paramatma in the heart. So the only qualification is be sincere and devoted to the activities of devotion service. You just need to be sincere and be engaged in the service of the Lord. Only expectation, one should perform some sort of work for Krishna with love. So there are different steps of yoga. For example, Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga means one engages in understanding the difference between spirit and matter. Right? So but he is not engaged in the service of Krishna. So you may know the goal, but if you don't engage, your purification is not the highest. Karma Yoga means one who engages in various activities and offers the fruits to the Lord. Right? He doesn't try to enjoy the fruits of the Lord. Fruits of the work, but he rather offers the fruits back to God. Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means one basically engages in devotion service in everything he does, right? He doesn't go to work because he likes to go, but rather he goes to work because it is a service to Krishna. He sees that as a service to Krishna. Right? So how he can engage his children through the things that he gains through his work at office or whatever. Right? So his primary goal is devotion service, in whatever he does. Karma Yoga is when one knows the goal as Krishna, but still he is addicted to the fruits. He still wants to engage in the various things. Right? Karma Yoga means you do whatever you like to do and then offer the fruits. Bhakti Yoga means you do what Krishna likes to do. Right? And then, of course, offer the fruits. So it is one step ahead of Karma Yoga, because in Karma Yoga, there is no requirement to perform work that is only pleasing to Lord. Right? But in Bhakti Yoga, that condition is there. Right? He engages. So the primary premise is, whatever I do should not displease Lord. That is how one is engaged. In Karma Yoga, that condition is not there. That is how Bhakti Yoga is one step ahead, because Bhakti is an act of love, right? Act of love for God. Right? So you won't do anything. If you love somebody, there are two ways you can engage. You can do some work which is not liked by the person, but you offer the fruit. So you get some income, you give give it to that person. That is one way. That is karma yoga. Bhakti yoga means you know your friend, you love your friend, and you don't engage or do anything that he doesn't like. And whatever you get, you give it to him. Right? So in that way, Bhakti yoga is ahead of. Jnana yoga means you're like, you're not engaged in material activities. Your focus is basically understanding what is absolute truth. Right? There is no real engagement. Yeah. Okay. Let's read the 11th verse. Teshamevanukampartham
Teshamevanukampatham
ajnanajam tama
aham ajnanajam tamah
nashayami atmabhavasto
nashayami atmabhavasto
jnanadipena bhasvata
jnanadipena bhasvata
tesham satatayuk evanukampartham
Pastam.
aham ajnanajam tama nashayami atmabhavasto
nashayami atmabhavasto
jnanadipena bhasvata Teshan evanukampartham. So again, this is another reciprocation from Lord. Right? Anukampartham means to show special mercy for them. Right? For them, Teshan evanukampartham, to show special mercy. Aham ajnana jam tamaha. Ajnana jam means the ignorance born out of darkness. What does Krishna do? Nashayami atmabhavasto. Dispels that ignorance, atmabhava, within their heart. Jnana dipena bhasvata means I light the lamp of knowledge in the hearts of their devotees who are engaged in devotion service as mentioned in the previous verse. Right? Yeah. Please read.
To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
To show them special mercy. Special mercy. It's not available to everybody, but those who are engaged in devotion service. Lord reciprocates. Right? Lord is reciprocal. That means he's not partial, he's reciprocal. Because somebody takes the extra effort to engage in his loving service, understanding that Krishna is the Supreme, Lord reciprocates, dwelling in their hearts as Paramatma. And what does he do? He destroys the shining lamp of knowledge, the darkness born of ignorance. All the misgivings, all the worries, all the anxieties, lust, greed, anger, envy, false prestige, all these things will be taken out by Lord. Personally, he takes it, all these things. So this is the special mercy or the special kindness of the Lord upon the devotees who are engaged in devotion service. Now you understand with these 4 verses how Krishna consciousness is the perfect process, because these 4 verses is what we exactly follow. Correct? Is there anything you feel like that's not aligned to what Krishna is teaching us here in these 4 verses? What exactly devotees in Krishna consciousness do? They are the society's name is Krishna conscious, right? Constantly devoted to serving me with love. That's exactly what devotees do. So, and this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And in that essence, Krishna is teaching the core principles of Krishna consciousness. You become Krishna conscious, you engage in devotion service. I give you the understanding by which you can come to me, and I take away all the misgivings in your heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So with these 4 verses, Krishna confirms bhakti is the highest process, and one should engage in his loving service to achieve perfection of life. And in bhakti, you have the additional, in other processes, there is not reciprocation much. But in this case, Krishna directly says, at least we didn't hear so far in the Bhagavad Gita, we read Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, all these other yogas. But here, we clearly say Krishna reciprocates. Okay? Dwelling in the heart destroys with the shining lamp of knowledge, darkness born of ignorance. This material world is like a dark well, right? Very difficult to get out. It's also mentioned as Bhava Sagara. It's like a ocean with no shore, right? You don't know how to get out of this. Bhakti Yoga is a process where you have a rope at least. You need to catch it. It's up to you. If you don't catch, you won't get out. But you just catch it. Guru is there to take you out of it, take you out of the well. So that is the advantage as per all these verses that we are hearing. Guru is present externally and internally as Paramatma, externally as the Guru, right? So in this way, Krishna takes away the darkness born of ignorance in the heart. So that's what happens when you chant. That's what happens when you hear. Don't question this. This is Krishna's words. Right? There is no process superior to bhakti. That is very clearly explained here, directly in the words of Krishna. Do you all agree or not? Any questions or anybody feels unclear about any of this?
Prabhuji, can we go through the translation of all the 4 ones together?
Yeah. Yeah, actually it is there in this. Yeah, please read, Mataji.
The Lord speaks the Chatur Sloka. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss enlivening one another and conversing about me. To those constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
So I'll explain quickly. The first verse is about the position of Krishna, right? How Lord is the source of everything. The second verse is about knowing this, how devotees reciprocate with Lord, right? They engage in the loving service of the Lord, and they converse about the Lord. They derive great satisfaction talking about Krishna with each other. They chant, they worship, they do everything to please Krishna. Right? And when they do, what happens? The last 2 verses are reciprocation of the Lord in reciprocation to the bhakti performed by the devotee. To those who are constantly engaged, constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. First, he shows the path back to God. Then, to show them special mercy, he will also cleanse the heart. Right? 2 things. One is he will show the path. Second is he will destroy the ignorance in the heart. Right? So these 2 are reciprocations of the law. You won't hear this kind of a statement in any other practice of yoga. This is only in Bhakti Yoga. Krishna will reciprocate with the devotee when one engages in the loving service of the devotions of the Lord. So Bhakti is love. Bhakti has every element. Right? So analogy is Krishna is like the shining lamp or like the sun who destroys all the darkness in the heart of a devotee, right? So he is like the shining lamp. When there is sunlight, there is no question of darkness. So when you chant the holy name of Krishna, you are making an entry of Krishna into your mind, right? You are letting Krishna in your mind. When you let Krishna in your mind, naturally all the darkness in your mind, right? Depression, anxieties, stress, lust, greed, anger, all the nonsense will go away from your mind because there is no place for it. Just like as soon as sun comes, all the dirt on the land gets dried up. So similarly, as soon as Krishna enters your mind, it's with the shining lamp, he will destroy everything, as you mentioned. This is the reason bhakti works, this is the reason chanting works, this is the reason hearing works, right? So this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. These are the most essential, important verses of Bhagavad Gita. Let's read, let's read Arjuna's. So just Arjuna just heard this, right? Look at Arjuna. He discussed so many topics. Now, Krishna ultimately gave his verdict about his situation. In a way, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of knowledge is discussed.
Vitram
Mhm.
Paramam.
So let's read this verse. Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Param
Param
Brahma
Brahma,
Param Dhama
Param Dhamma
Vitram Paramam Bhavam
Pavitram
Pavitram
Paramam,
Paramam Bhavam
Purusham Saswatam Divyam
Purusham
Purusham
Adhutam
Saswatam
Divyam
Divyam
Adidevam Ajam Vibhum
Adidevam Ajam Vibhum
Ahusvam Rashaya Sarve
Ahustyam Rishaya Sarve
Devarshir Naradastata
Devarshirnaradastata,
Devasyanarajastata
Asito Devalo Vyasah
Asito
To
Devalokya,
Devalo Vyasa
Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime
Ayam
Ayam
Chaiva
Chaiva
Bhavishime,
Bhavisime
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha,
Uvacha
Param Brahma Param Dhama
Param
Param
Brahma,
Brahma
Param
Param
Dhama
Dhama
Pavitram Paramam Bhavam
Pavitram
Pavitram
Paramam
Paramam
Bhavam
Bhavam
Purusham Saswatam Divyam
Purusham Shashvatam Devyam,
Divyam
Devam Ajam Vibhum
Adidevam
Adidevam
Ajam
Ajam
Vibhum,
Vibhum
Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve
Ahusvam
Ahusvam
Rishayasarve,
Sarve
Devarshir Naradastata
Devarshirnaradastata,
Narastata
Asito Devalo Vyasah
Asito Devalokyasa,
Devalo Vyasa
Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime.
Swayam Chaiva Bhavishime.
Vyam Chaiva
Yeah, please read.
Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the greatest sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me."
So one may wonder, Arjuna and Krishna, they are all very close friends. So Arjuna is just praising his relative Krishna. So he's clarifying the position of Krishna as the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. Not only me saying this, all the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa. These are the greatest sages in the creation. Confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. It's not only me, all the great sages in the past have confirmed the same truth about you. Now you are declaring about the same to me. Yeah. So one can understand there is no truth beyond Krishna. That is the highest truth, absolute truth. Right? The absolute truth is Krishna. Yeah. Param Brahma. Brahma means transcendental. Param Brahma means Param is the highest. Param Dhama, you are the highest abode. Right? Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, the purest. Paramam Bhavan means you're the supremost person. Purusham Sasvatam Deya, you are the eternal transcendental person. Adi Devan, the original Lord, is the source of all the other lords. Ajam, unborn, Vibhum, the greatest. Yeah. So Devarshi, not only me, Devarshi means like Narada, Devarshi Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, all these great sages of the past, they have explained, they have accepted the same truth about you. And now you yourself are declared. In this way, the discussion goes on between Arjuna and Krishna. So Arjuna clearly accepted the position of Krishna and the statements of Krishna that he mentioned in the last 4 verses. So at this point, Arjuna asks, I want to see your universal form. That is the section that comes up next. Yeah. So we'll end the class here. It's almost 1 hour. We'll continue from this because it's a different section I want to cover in the next class. Any questions?
Prabhuji, Arjuna talks about Asita and Devala, right? We have never heard this before. I have not heard. So are they mentioned in any other place?
Oh, who are they? You're asking?
Narada and Vyasa we know. You mentioned here he took the name of Asita and Devala.
Yeah.
I've never
They
heard.
are great sages of the Vedic times, but I also don't know more about it. So, frankly speaking, I can try to find.
Okay.
Don't have much description in the Bhagavad Gita, but I'll try to find if I can find who are those sages.
Okay.
Anybody else has any other questions? So you understood, right? This is where a lot of devotees actually read these 4 verses. That is like, reading the entire Bhagavad Gita. 10.8 to 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. Very important.
Prabhuji, I had learned these 4 shlokas along with my daughter. I think they were hardly 4 years old when Josna Mataji was teaching them. So like these I remember. So whenever I pray, whatever shlokas I remember, I just say, and these 4 were out of them, which I just knew after you told us. So I was feeling very happy when you were telling this and I could remember all of these.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Very beautiful verses. So that gives us so much conviction about the path we are practicing. Whatever you're practicing, you can go practice so many other yogas. There is no support of Vedic scriptures like this, right? So this process is so crystal clean, right? It's only matter whether we are practicing in the right way, whether we are making the real progress or not. But the process is as prescribed in the Bhagavad Gita perfectly. Whatever Krishna consciousness practices you do, whether chanting, hearing, or serving in the temple, all those are all bona fide processes. These are processes that are working for thousands of years. It's not anything new. Right? This knowledge is eternal, and these methods that we are discussing, these are all perfect processes. So we should be at least very happy that we are not in a non-bona fide path. It's a very, very, many people have succeeded following this path in the past. So that gives us conviction. Yes, I'm not, we don't have to be confused if somebody talks in a other way, like, hey, this is not the process, this is the right thing in this age. People who understand Bhagavad Gita, they'll never be confused about the goal of life and methods of method to achieve it, because it's very crystal clearly defined here. Okay? So there's no confusion or doubt about this. Okay, so thank you all very much. If no questions, we'll end the class here. Okay, thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.